Soul Simmers, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is definitely a different video than you might be used to from me on this channel, but I recently built this on my Twitch streams and I realized it was way too fun not to share on YouTube as well. Because I guess this is one of the silliest but funnest crossovers between Minecraft and The Sims. Because honestly, when I set out to make this build, I don't know what I was thinking. I promised this to my community for charity. I said that if they would raise a specific amount, I would actually build a ginormous cowplant in Minecraft, but I don't think I properly realized what I committed to when I set that goal. Because as I was starting, I realized I had never actually done a build like this in Minecraft. I had never done an organic build in Minecraft. I've just been building houses and stuff, and even with that, I'm not a super experienced builder. Like, I've played Minecraft for quite a lot, but I definitely feel like I have still so much to learn when it comes down to building in Minecraft. But I was like, let me take on this challenge and just go for it. Let's just try and see if I can do it, and we'll just use it as a learning experience together. So I first started with creating this ginormous terracotta pot because this cow plant, I'm not kidding when I say ginormous. Like, this cow plant ends up being so big. You can kind of see the little tiny village houses in the background. This ends up being such a ginormous build. And I think that is my very first lesson when it comes to organic building in Minecraft, is that it's definitely a scale thing. Like, because it's a blocky game, literally everything is square. If you want to make anything that looks somewhat organic, like round shapes, you're going to have to make it really large. Like, you're gonna have to work on a big scale so that you can use those blocks to actually create something that looks natural. I think the biggest challenge in this one was that I wasn't using any mods. I was literally just using my brain to calculate or to envision the 3D space and then try to recreate that in Minecraft. Everyone in my chat was like, you are wild for doing this without any mods, because apparently, and again, this is something that I knew but didn't really know, a lot of people use like building mods to help them calculate like the round parts or like the organic spaces on blocks and stuff, just to make sure that they can help envision themselves that 3D part. So you're gonna have to forgive me if this build is a little rough on the edges, because like I said, it's not only the first time that I'm doing this, but I'm literally making this just from my vision in my head. At this point, the stem was done. That was, I think, one of the biggest challenges, to get something that actually looked somewhat good. And we started building the head, or building. It sounds so silly to say building the head, but we started making the head. And this was definitely one of those building projects. I was so happy I was working with creative Minecraft and not in survival, because it actually allowed me to super easily like go back, change something, remove some of the blocks, stuff like that. For anyone who's never played Minecraft before, basically creative mode is like infinite build mode in The Sims. There's no restrictions. You can float around. You can just use any block that you want. And it makes it a lot easier. Like, you can see, I'm kind of just floating in the air, and it makes it a lot easier to build. At this point, I was trying to add the cake. And for anyone who's never inspected a cow plant up close, I dare you to Google a picture of a cow plant. Did you know that that part that the cake is attached to is not actually his tongue or her tongue? Because I got corrected on my stream that it's a cow plant, so it's a girly pop. But did you know that is not actually a tongue? It's some sort of intestine, and it actually looks disgusting. Like, me and everyone in my stream were so shocked that that was it. So we tried to sort of replicate that with trapdoors and an actual cake. At this point, I needed to make the mouth shape actually connect to the head and to the stem. And this is the part where I genuinely felt like I had made such a big mistake for not using mods, because oh my word, this was breaking my brain. I think in the end, the head shape turns out to be a little bit too small. I think especially if you compare it to the mouth, I think the aspect ratio of the head is a little bit too small. It's a little bit too narrow. I also struggled so much with getting it even. You'll see that like as we turn around the head, you'll see that one side is like, it's not symmetrical. So I had to go back and like I had to keep counting blocks and I had to keep fixing it. But eventually I ended up with a shape that was somewhat symmetrical on both sides, and I just had to fill it in. I think if I were to go back, I would definitely maybe start with the head and then connect the stem to it, because at this point I felt like it was almost impossible to properly have the head sitting like on top of the stem and make it work. The actual cow plant actually has a different way of like the head being connected to the stem. It doesn't really have a neck like this one does. But for my first time doing an organic build, I'm actually pretty happy with this, how this turned out. I actually ended up adding a lot of texture as well. So in this phase, I'm just building with the white blocks, which obviously if it's a cow, it one needs darker spots as well. But secondly, I also ended up adding like more texture with like other types of white blocks in the game, which I also think makes it look so much better. I also struggled quite a lot with the fact that I normally work with a texture pack. I normally use Mizuno Craft in Minecraft, and it completely changes the look and feel of blocks. So as I was building this with just the regular Minecraft textures, apart from the fact that I still have shaders on, I was actually struggling to like realize which blocks I should be using because they all looked so different compared to like my actual block palette that I'm used to. So that was an interesting learning curve for myself as well. At this point, we're trying to add the horns, and it was definitely a lot of back and forth of deciding where they should go on the head. But for me, as soon as I added these horns, this was the first time in the build where I was actually like, yes, this is coming together. I feel like I did have it a little bit when I was making the mouth, and I noticed that with like the dripstone, we could make the teeth and stuff like that. But I think it honestly, as soon as I added those horns, I was like, yeah, now it's starting to look like a cow instead of a dog. Up until this point, the head just felt like a dog shape to me. Let me know if you can also see that. But this is also where we're adding like a lot of the details, a lot of the textures, a lot of the darker spots and stuff to really make it look like a cow. And then it was time to add in all the leaves because obviously this is a cow plant. So it's not just a cow build that is actually tempting your Sims to eat the cake. It is actually a cow plant. So it's growing from the pot and it doesn't actually have eyes, or at least the eyes are hidden. And it has these big leaf fringes that I wanted to make sure to add as well. In the back, it actually on the real cow plant has a lot more leaves as well. But I realized that for this cow plant, it might look a little bit better if we just sort of have the leaves cover the entire back of the head, because like I said, it doesn't connect the same way to the neck or to the stem as it does on a real cow plant. So we ended up sort of giving it a mullet, and I'm not gonna lie, for some reason that just in my brain made it even better. Like, this cow plant is just a mullet girly. We ended up naming this very specific cow plant Cassie. Someone in my chat suggested that, and I was like, for some reason, this makes sense. I cannot explain why. I cannot say why I think this is logical, but yes, this is Cowplant Cassie, and that just felt right. This is also the point where you see me realize that adding multiple leaves wouldn't really work, and I think the mullet shape actually turned out really nice. It also allowed me to sort of connect the back. And at this point, we're just adding some final details. We're adding in like the leaves on the side to add a little bit more 3D shape and like a little bit more dimension to the entire thing. And that almost covers the entire build. I hope you enjoyed this silly little project. If you ever want to see me build in Minecraft, I build in Minecraft mostly on stream. So if you want to ever come hang out, feel free to let me know. Also, if you'd like to see more Minecraft content on this channel, let me know as well, because I do really love this game. If this is the first time that you're seeing a video of mine, I primarily play The Sims here, but I plan on adding some more cozy gaming content to the channel. So if that's something that interests you, feel free to check it out and subscribe if that is your cup of tea. Feel free to toss the video a cheeky like. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this cow plant. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everyone!